are so grateful to all of you for your support. Thank you so much. And remember, until the strike is settled, there will be no acting and no writing.
I love it when a plan comes together.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there, Price of Reason here with a special report. If there was ever an argument that karma is a real thing, I would say that we are all witnessing it play out in Hollywood these days. After years of alienating their customer base by aggressively pushing divisive agendas and ideologies into almost every piece of content, 2023 has been a year that Hollywood has finally been feeling the consequences of their actions where it matters to it most, the bottom line. But to make matters worse for Hollywood, the ongoing writers and actors strike these days is another crisis that it simply cannot afford, as it is causing real damage to all of its scripted productions, especially the ones that are already in the middle of filming. That's because writers aren't allowed to work on shows during the strike, and actors not only can't work on shows, they also can't promote or advertise their completed projects either. And in the midst of all of this chaos, so many of the same wealthy, condescending, and overly political industry people that have been looking down on their customers for years have now all seemingly turned on each other. You see, pushing agendas is all fine and dandy until there's a dispute about money, because at the end of the day, that's all they really ever cared about anyways. The rest was just for show and tell, and perhaps one of the most blatant examples for this is recent events surrounding actor Ron Perlman. Just last year, he very aggressively sided with Disney in their ill-advised political battle with Florida's governor over local policies.
Don't say, as the first two words in a sentence spoken by a political leader of a state in the United States of America. Don't say. Don't say, you pig.
Now Perlman is sitting around posting videos where he's seemingly making personal threats against Disney CEO Bob Iger, who's gone from being Hollywood's biggest darling to public enemy number one.
You wish that families starve while you're making $27 million a year for creating nothing? Be careful. Be really careful.
Now that's a strange twist that even I wasn't expecting. But you know what? I don't have an issue with all of this bickering, and at this point, I also don't have much sympathy for any of these parties. The industry executives have always been slippery, the writers these days are extremely overrated, and even most actors have misunderstood their role in society for way too long. All of these people had just one job: to entertain us and not to lecture us in the process. And if they're all upset at each other now and they all want to duke it out, well, as far as I'm concerned, they can go right ahead. Honestly, their infighting is more interesting than most of the movies or shows they produce these days anyways, so I don't care how long this dispute lasts. And I'm pretty sure that I'm not the only one who feels this way, as Hollywood's current shutdown has, in my opinion, created an unprecedented window of opportunity. You see, years ago, when you had a strike like this, everybody was eagerly awaiting for it to end so that they could once again watch their favorite content. That was because the big Hollywood studios pretty much had a monopoly on entertainment, but these days, you have so many content creators that operate outside the Hollywood system on so many different platforms that Hollywood has gone from being essential to just being another option. I've recently posted a video here on my channel about the significance of Angel Studios' success with Sound of Freedom, a movie that Disney was the original distributor of, but for some reason refused to release. A movie that is continuing to make money in ticket sales and is shaping up to be this summer's biggest box office surprise. And while the mainstream access media has been busy labeling Angel Studios as faith-based, I have been telling viewers of this channel that they shouldn't be underestimated and that they also represent a shift in the entire entertainment landscape. Regardless of anybody's politics or beliefs, and purely on a business level, I think that a small independent media company that was able to crowdsource money from a pool of online investors to theatrically release a box office hit is a force to be reckoned with. And now, this small Utah-based media company has managed to achieve yet another victory over Hollywood. For those of you not aware, in addition to distributing Sound of Freedom, Angel Studios also produces its own original content and even has its own streaming platform. And in recent years, they've actually seen real success with their historical Christian drama series, The Chosen. So much so that many streaming services such as Netflix and Amazon have worked out broadcasting and licensing deals with Angel Studios over the past few years to feature the series. Most recently, the CW network has acquired the rights to broadcast the first 3 seasons of The Chosen. Now this is especially symbolic as the CW has been such a Hollywood agenda-based network for years, with some of the worst performing shows on television. In fact, the CW has lost so much money over the past decade that in 2022, a majority stake of the company had to be sold off to Nexstar, with the new owners making drastic changes to try to make it profitable. The Chosen premiered on the CW on July 16th, and apparently with over 500,000 viewers, it generated better ratings for the CW than many of their original shows. But here's where things get even more interesting. This week, as opposed to all productions in Hollywood, Angel Studios was granted a special waiver from WGA and SAG-AFTRA to continue filming the Chosen series with its union members regardless of the current strike. The reason for this is because Angel Studios are considered by WGA and SAG-AFTRA as truly independent producers because they are not affiliated with the alliance of motion picture and television producers. In other words, operating independently outside the Hollywood system is now considered an advantage. To date, Angel Studios' The Chosen is the only series that is allowed to film while the WGA and SAG-AFTRA are on strike, which I believe is a big deal. In my previous video, I had also mentioned that Angel Studios is theatrically releasing a science fiction movie called The Shift at the end of this year, starring Neil McDonough and Sean Astin. To me, Angel Studios hiring legitimate actors for their original productions, while considered completely disconnected from the entire Hollywood system, shows that actors are now open to join these type of niche indie productions. And what does that mean in the big picture? Well, in my opinion, this could just be the beginning. Other independent studios can now follow the same type of business model. They can do the same type of equity investor crowdsourcing as Angel Studios, and they don't need any approval from Hollywood for it. And these new studios don't have to be faith-based in order to do so. Any studio can build a large enough group for online crowdsourcing and release whatever their target audience is actually interested in, and this can ultimately make Hollywood's overall market share even smaller. Now, I'm not saying this change would happen overnight, or that Hollywood is completely done in the long term, but I would say that it could certainly put their dominance in question, and significantly weaken it over time. Another advantage that these smaller community-driven studios would have is that they could avoid being pressured by financial institutions to aggressively push very specific agendas in order to boost their corporate credit score, a practice that has been very widespread in Hollywood in recent years. Perhaps somehow, this would eventually provide viewers with better stories and more original movies and shows. And at a time that Disney, a Hollywood giant, is in such turmoil, has so many financial issues, has a CEO that's fighting with the actors and with the writers,
there's a level of expectation that they have that is just not realistic.
Has been laying off thousands of employees, and is now looking to sell Disney assets to help his balance sheet. Seeing Disney get smaller after being so political in recent years, while smaller studios like Angel Studios are thriving and growing, it could mark the beginning of a brand new era.
Some of it is karma.
And as always, I will continue to report on all of these latest developments, even if the mainstream access media tries to largely ignore them. And if you're interested in getting this type of exclusive content, please consider subscribing to my channel and also clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.